The manhood that brought darkness. The first time I saw him, I couldn't stop staring, not because I wanted to, but because his curse made it impossible to look away. Obinna was the quiet man in our village, the type who kept to himself and spoke only when spoken to. He had the face of someone who had carried shame for far too long, though I didn't understand why until that fateful day. It all started when I went to the stream early one morning to fetch water. The sun hadn't risen fully, and the air was still cool. I liked going at that time because it was quiet and peaceful. That morning, though, I wasn't alone. As I approached the stream, I heard someone humming softly. It was a deep voice, almost sad, carrying through the trees. Curious, I followed the sound and stopped in my tracks when I saw him, Obinna. He was sitting by the water, his head bowed, his shoulders slumped. At first, I thought he was just resting, but then I noticed something that made my stomach twist. His wrapper had slipped off to one side, and what I saw was unnatural. It wasn't just big. It was monstrous, something that didn't belong on a human body. It hung like a weight he couldn't escape, and even though he tried to cover himself when he noticed me, I could see the pain in his eyes. "Go away," he said sharply, his voice trembling. I wanted to speak, to ask what had happened to him, but the words wouldn't come. I turned and ran back to the village, my mind racing. The next day, whispers spread like wildfire. Someone else had seen Obinna at the stream, and soon the whole village was talking about the man with the cursed manhood. Some laughed, others pitied him, but no one dared to approach him. Except for Moman Kem, the oldest woman in the village. She called a meeting at the square and said, "This is not something to laugh about. Obinna is cursed, and we must know why. Bring him here." It took some convincing, but Obinna eventually showed up, his face ashen, his body covered in a loose wrapper. He stood before us, silent and trembling. Moman Kem stepped forward. "Obinna, tell us the truth. How did this happen?" For a long time, he said nothing. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he began to speak. "I was a young man, foolish and proud," he said. "I thought being with as many women as possible made me a man. I treated them like trophies, not people. One day, I met a woman named Adogo. She was beautiful, but there was something strange about her. Her eyes, they glowed at night." The crowd murmured, but Moman Kem silenced us with a wave of her hand. "I didn't care," Obinna continued. "I wanted her like I wanted all the others. She wanted me to leave her alone, but I didn't listen. I forced myself on her." Gasps echoed through the square. Even Moman Kem looked shaken. "She cursed me," Obinna said, his voice cracking. She said, "Since you think your manhood is your greatest power, may it become your greatest curse." The next morning, I woke up like this. The silence was deafening. No one knew what to say. "Have you tried to undo the curse?" Moman Kem asked finally. Obinna shook his head. "I've tried everything, priest, herbalist, sacrifices. Nothing works. The curse is mine to bear." Moman Kem sighed. "Then there is only one thing left to do. We must call Adogo. If she cursed you, only she can lift it." The problem was, no one had seen Adogo since that night. Some said she was a spirit, not a human. Others believed she had vanished into the forest, never to return. Weeks turned into months, and life in the village went on. Obinna stayed hidden in his hut, too ashamed to face the world. But one night, something happened that none of us could have predicted. The village woke to the sound of wailing, Obinna's wailing. We rushed to his hut, only to find him on the floor, clutching his chest. "She came to me," he gasped. "Adogo," she said, "the curse will end tonight." We waited, holding our breath, as his body began to convulse. His cries turned into screams, and then, silence. When it was over, Obinna's body lay still. The curse was gone, but so was he. Adogo's words echoed in my mind, "Your greatest power will become your greatest curse." It was a lesson none of us would ever forget, a reminder that pride, selfishness, and harm to others always come with a price.